Happy Monday, everybody. As always, I hope that you had a terrific weekend and had some good time to relax, maybe time to practice, and had some good times. So today we are back and welcoming you to this week's live Monday Music Motivation. For this week, I want to do a bit of a follow-up on what was last week's sort of topic, where last week we were going in depth and talking about how to sort of make sure that you're kind of setting a resolution that's going to challenge yourself a little bit this year. Normally we talk about SMART goals and making sure things are really realistic and attainable and all of that good stuff and really tangible and actionable, of course. But this year I want to do something a little bit crazier and kind of go for a crazy goal. So if you didn't watch last week's Live Monday Music Motivation, that was more or less what it was about. And this week I want to follow up and give you a little bit of advice on how to tackle those crazy goals, because it's really easy to set a kind of unrealistic goal and it's really hard to obtain it, because that's the point. That's what I want you to do, is pick a goal that you probably aren't going to be able to achieve this year, but we're going to work like crazy to try to actually achieve it and see what happens. Now, the problem with this and with setting a sort of unrealistic goal, and why SMART goals and those kinds of things are so good and useful, and generally when you're setting a goal, that's what I would recommend doing. When you have that kind of SMART goal, that's a really reasonable goal, then it's obvious sort of the next steps to take. You're sort of in this sweet spot where you have good motivation to do it and you feel like you're achieving something and it feels really good. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi has this research on this idea of flow and flow states, and one of the big important components of flow states is that you have to find something that's at the right level of difficulty and sort of the sweet spot where it's like ever so slightly beyond your comfort zone, but not too far beyond your comfort zone. And that research on flow basically says if it's too easy, then you're going to get bored and not get much out of it, or just honestly not do it. If it's overwhelmingly difficult, then you're going to feel overwhelmed and you're not going to want to do it, and you're going to sort of get stuck and be kind of running into roadblocks that way and feel like you aren't good enough to do it, so what's the point of even trying kind of situation. So normally we want to find that kind of SMART goal that's ever so slightly beyond our comfort zone, that gets us into that nice flow state and gets us going. But I asked you to pick something that's unreasonably outside of your comfort zone, something that you're probably going to fail at. So I wanted to give you some ideas on how to kind of break that goal down into things that we can find flow on and feel good about and feel motivated and inspired to do and have the action to actually do it, without feeling overwhelmed about the end goal. So some of you are picking things like playing like the Poulenc Sonata or playing the Weber Concertino or things like that. Fantastic, really great pieces that are good challenges and a good sort of stretch. For me, I picked the goal of playing klezmer dances, and not just playing it, but trying to play it as close to like Martin Frost as possible, which sounds overwhelming. I would have the music for that pulled up and start playing it and think, oof, I don't know how Martin Frost plays it that fast. I don't know how he tongues that fast. I don't know how he sounds that good while playing those notes that fast. I'm never going to make it, so what's the point? I might as well just put it away. And that's very easy. If you're looking at the Weber Concertino, it's several pages of music. Some of that stuff looks really daunting and really intimidating. You listen to a recording, those notes are flying by, and you're like, oof, I don't think I can ever do that. Like, I don't know why I made this silly goal in the first place. Josh is crazy. I'm going to go back to my rose etudes or whatever it may be. So I want to give you some ideas on how to break that down. And basically what we're doing is we're taking these big lofty dreams, this really ambitious goal that we set last week, and breaking it down into actions that we can actually achieve. And this is going to sort of reveal the magic of why I wanted you to set these unrealistic, unobtainable goals in the first place. So what I want you to do is take whatever that goal is, whatever the piece is, whatever thing you're trying to accomplish, and break it down into what you can do now. Don't break it down into like the smallest possible thing you could do or the sort of just getting started, because that will likely be a bit below your comfort zone and feel kind of boring, and you won't see how that's helping you at all. You think, okay, I want to play the Weber concertino and there's all these fast notes. I can't play those notes that fast, so I'm going to work on learning my scales at a really comfortable, reasonable tempo and work on the scales that I've already been practicing. That seems like kind of like the first smallest, tiniest little incremental step you could do. That's probably going to be boring, and that's probably what you've always been doing, and it's not going to push you ahead like is the idea behind setting this unrealistic goal. So instead, what you should do is, what can I do? What's the sort of closest thing to that? So thinking about the Weber concertino, there's the first fast section. That part is more or less a scale in thirds. So if you've never practiced scale in thirds before, maybe doing your scales in thirds would be a good idea for this. You can also do it not just a C major scale in thirds that maybe you're comfortable with. You could look at that actual key. I want to say it's D major off the top of my head, not looking at the music, but you could actually look at it and kind of figure out what it is and say, I'm going to do actually a D major scale in thirds. And I know that I need to eventually be able to do that at like 112 or something for in 16th notes. So I'm going to get as close to that as I can and go for maybe 16th notes at 80 and see what I can do. That's probably much faster than you've ever done before, but you're going to have to wrestle with that and work at it a little bit to push that. And again, I'm just making up kind of arbitrary numbers here. Pick something that does slot into that nice kind of flow state where it's not so comfortable that it's boring, but it's not so overwhelmingly difficult that it's not possible at all, and that it's clean and that it's sloppy and that it's frustrating. We still don't want our practice to be frustrating, but we want to kind of get as close to that edge of frustration as possible and ask yourself, what can I do? How far can I take this? How close to the end goal can I get? And then work from there. And maybe even back off a little bit and then push ahead a little bit and play with where is that sweet spot where you're maximally engaged, really working towards something that you weren't able to do before, but not frustrated and not just kind of slopping your way through it. So that's the kind of actions that I want you to take. That's how I want you to sort of focus into these things and dive into it and really get the hang of it. So for me, for my example with learning the klezmer dances and playing it like Martin Frost, there's absolutely no way that I can double tongue as cleanly and as fast as he can on the music. But I can kind of double tongue a little bit. So what I can do is not just practice simple double tonguing, but I'm going to start pushing my tempo on double tonguing and start trying to double tongue faster than I ever have before and cleaner than I ever have before, because I'm not just like trying to get a little bit better at double tonguing. I'm trying to be able to double tongue like Martin Frost by the end of the year. So I need to start taking bigger steps and pushing myself a little bit more. And that's the whole idea behind setting this unreasonable goal. It's very unlikely that I'll double tongue as well as Martin Frost by the end of the year. But if that's what I'm striving for, I'll probably double tongue a whole heck of a lot better than I can now, or than I would at the end of the year if I was just like, oh, I want to get my double tonguing a little bit better. I'm going to make a specific, measurable, actionable, is it reasonable, relatable, timely? I'm going to make a SMART goal about my double tonguing this year and get 10% better at double tonguing. Sure, that's fine, that's good. But if I'm trying to double tongue as good as Martin Frost by the end of the year, I'm probably going to get 70, 80% better, maybe even 110% better at my double tonguing this year, because I'm aiming for something so far in the distance. And it will work as long as you don't get too overwhelmed. So that's sort of the goal of today, is to remind you to break that down into reasonable actions that you can actually take, actions that are going to feel good for you, so that you aren't overwhelmed by that and just give up before you even start. Because I think you all can at least work towards that unreasonable goal and you'll be better off for it. So I encourage you all to give that a try. And the perfect way to do that is to put it into your practice template. So there's this practice template here, which you can get at quickstartclarinet.com/get-started, that you can fill out, or you can just copy it and recreate it for yourself. The date for the week, reflection of how things are going, your goal for what you want to accomplish this week, and then your plan for what you're going to do and when you're going to do it, so that you actually know what you're trying to do. And this is a perfect place to put in those sort of action items as you're working towards your goal. One last thing that I wanted to mention too that I almost forgot about, but I think will be really helpful if you want to maximize the efficiency and the effectiveness of your practice so that you can take this really lofty goal and really get all of that beneficial improvement out of it, then I highly encourage you to check out my new practice book, A Practice Manifesto, How to Be Effective and Efficient in the Practice Room. You can go to quickstartclarinet.com/practice manifesto to check that out. Of course, the link is in the description as well. It's literally only in the hands of a few dozen people at this time. It's like very, very brand new if you're watching this live right now. And I've gotten a few reviews back, and people are really, really liking it, saying that they've sort of, these things are being said in ways that they haven't heard before, and it's really helping things to stick and helping to make progress. So I hope that you check that out so that you can have more effective and efficient practice as well. I'm really happy with how that came together and think it will be a really, really valuable resource. So let me know if you have any questions about sort of setting this goal. I would love to hear in the comments how you're going to take that big unreasonable goal and break it down into much more reasonable actions that put you at that perfect sweet spot of your flow state. Don't forget to fill out your practice template and put it in your planner, put it in your calendar, however you organize your life so you make that practice happen. And I hope that you have a fantastic week of practicing, and I look forward to seeing you next time on the next live Monday Music Motivation. Have a great week, everybody, and happy practicing. Bye.